Yasmin. I'm from the Christchurch team at CES, and today Steve is joining me to talk about cyclical maintenance.
Hello.
What the?
Cyclical maintenance. Okay, that's a topic that is quite a challenge for a lot of schools, but it is an important requirement for schools. The Ministry require all schools to be maintaining their premises and buildings that are owned by the Ministry, and the same with the integrated schools. You know, they're all owned by someone, so that the schools have an obligation to look after them. And the biggest maintenance requirement is painting. And what the cyclical maintenance does is it extracts the painting from the 10-year plan for the school, and from that a provision is created using that information looking forward. It's typically on a 10-year rolling basis, and that's what's called cyclical. And it's often one of the largest items on the balance sheet, so it's an important figure to get right, as it can actually make a big difference to the school's end-of-year result if a surprise comes through for the cyclical maintenance.
So where does the money come from?
The money comes from the operations grant, so the schools are receiving that, and each year they receive a bit that the schools are meant to be putting into the pot for the cyclical maintenance. And so the cyclical maintenance can be viewed as a ring-fenced pot for the school that the school needs to be using for that purpose. No one is going to be checking with the school that they're spending it on that, but it's the school's obligation to make sure that they are managing it and using it on that, because the Ministry will not give them more money if they spend it on something else.
Okay, so you said that it's based on a 10-year property plan. 10-year is a long time, and a lot of things can change in the middle. How do we change it if we need to?
Yes, particularly in Canterbury, after the earthquakes, with schools getting a lot of buildings repaired and even knocked down and rebuilt, the old plan obviously becomes quite meaningless. And so each time there's a new building going up, there's new materials that are going in to actually minimise the need for painting. You know, things like pin boards on the walls and that type of thing, and new materials that don't need as much maintenance. So the bottom line is that schools should be reviewing their existing plan quite frequently, and in fact this is a big topic for schools right now, because the auditors are challenging schools who haven't had a plan for some time, saying, okay, come on guys, you need a plan, and are actually it's a mark against the school now, that the Ministry are actually expecting schools to do it. So
I've heard that the Ministry is not actually approving any plans now.
It doesn't. That's true, but it doesn't stop schools still getting a plan, because they're going to need one. And the plan is nothing more than saying what work is needing to be done over the next few years. And even if a school has something on that basis, the schools need to know what their obligations are.
Okay, so let's say we need a new plan. I meet with the board and we go, block number 1, and it will cost about $5,000. Block number 2, that will be $10,000. Will that be enough?
Yeah, what this provision does is it lets the school put a little bit aside every year, because that's not needed to be done all at once usually, but in the first few years it's going to be done, say, in 3 or 4 or 5, 6 years' time, and it's going to be one large amount, so that this plan lets the school build up to that amount, so it's not such a shock to the school in one hit. Yeah,
but where do you get the figures from? Can anybody set the figures?
The figures should be coming from some reasonable basis, so what the auditors in particular will be looking for is that it's coming from a recognised property plan. That it could be from some of my schools have actually got a plan from a painting contractor who've actually helped them work through what the work is needed to be done and how much it's likely to cost. So as long as there's a basis for that, that's the main thing.
Okay, talking about painting plans. So we've got the cyclical maintenance. What about a painting contract?
Personally, I'm not a big fan of painting contracts.
Neither am I.
It's because we're going out so far. It's actually works out. I believe to be more expensive, and you're paying for work that you may not need doing. The fact that you actually have, going back to the cyclical maintenance provision, the fact it's in the plan doesn't mean to say the school has to do it, because if something doesn't need to be painted, obviously you won't paint it. Whereas if you have a painting contract, you're paying every single year the same amount, whether you need to or not.
And does it get treated the same in the accounts?
It's a little bit different. You do have a different provision for the painting provision, but it is linked, very heavily linked into the cyclical maintenance, so that it's not duplicated.
Thank you, Steve. That was very enlightening. If you want any more information, our details are at the bottom of the screen.